Okay, good morning everyone. I hope all is well. I hope you are doing good in your studies. So last meeting class we discussed about the cradles of science. We look into the contributions of Americans, Africans, Asians in the development of science and technology. So I've given you a module and learning activities, and so far class I have already checked some of the students' outputs, and I found that you have done well in those activities. So I think you are now ready to proceed on our next discussion, which is all about the scientific revolution. But before class we discuss about scientific revolution, allow me first class to give you definition of a science. Like for example, science as an idea. So science and idea class includes all ideas, it includes all theories, it all includes available systematic explanations and observations about the natural and the physical world. Okay? And then we also move class to science as an intellectual activity. So pag sinabi natin science as an intellectual activity, it encompasses systematic and practical study of the natural and physical world with the use of observation and experimentation. Since we talk about activity, so those are really the process of science, no? And then when we talk about science as a body of knowledge naman class, of course we think it as a subject or as a discipline or as a field that we have to study. And last but not the least class, science as a personal and social activity explains that both science is of knowledge and activities done by humans to develop better understanding of the world around them. And take note guys that science as a personal and social activity is very much important. It is because it is a means in improving life and the reason in order for all of us to survive in our life on earth. No? So that's the definition of science. So today class, we will be looking into the reasons for scientific revolution. Bakit ba nagkaroon ng scientific revolution, ano? So according to the slides, scientific revolution began in 1550s because of the recent discoveries in other areas of European life. So we have actually the Renaissance period, we have the Reformation period, and we have the Exploration period. But today class, we will be just discussing about Renaissance. So pag sinabi natin Renaissance class, it is considered as rebirth. Bakit rebirth? Diba? Ibig pong sabihin nun, sir, nagkaroon ba ng period in terms of science and technology na namatay ang science and technology? Actually, yes po. We have actually the what is called the death of science and technology. It occurred, no? During the time when there was what we so-called bubonic plague, no? So, doon po nagkaroon ng tinatawag nating time wherein science and technology slept. Pero after that po, nagkaroon na po tayo ng tinatawag nating Renaissance period or rebirth. And in this period, guys, it is very much important that you have to take note that it is a period wherein people began to question old beliefs and thought that humans could accomplish anything. No? So, ito yung panahon, class, wherein people already started to question old beliefs. Tama ba to? Or mali? No? Then after that, class, we move on now to the Age of Reformation. In the Age of Reformation naman, class, it is the time wherein people began to question naman the ideas of the Roman Catholic Church. And I just want to emphasize, class, that before, kung di nyo natatanong, the main source of ideas and the main source of knowledge is actually religion or church. Pero, because of what we so-called widespread thinking, no? Nagkaroon tayo ng tinatawag nating already Reformation period wherein people here started already to question the ideas of church. tama ba yung sinasabi ng church or mali yung sinasabi ng church? And last but not the least, class, is the age of exploration. So, ang age of exploration naman, class, it is the time wherein there's what we so-called now discovery of new lands. And because of the discovery of these new lands, led people now to search for other new things. No? So what we call scientific revolution. So that's the reason. So ngayon, class, what is scientific revolution now? So scientific revolution, class, is a very significant, time in the development of human beings, in the transformation of the society, and in the formulation of scientific ideas. Okay, bakit? Kasi ito yung panahon, class, wherein there are already questions, there are already things that should be verified in order for it to be accepted as correct or incorrect. Okay? And in this revolution, class, it actually improved the conduct of scientific investigations, experiments, and observations. And take note, class, that it transformed the natural world and the world of ideas. Kung noon, ito yung pinaniniwalaan natin, but because of the scientific revolution, we come now into a newer, more verified ideas. So, it is also the period where paradigm shift occurred. So, pag sinabi natin paradigm shift, there's what is so-called model shift, no? Kasi before kasi, dalawa lang naman yan eh. Kaya nga palagi natin sinasabi, religion versus science. So, nagkaroon ng paradigm shift. Kung noon, the ideas is actually on Roman Catholic churches, on religion. Ngayon, nagkaroon ng model shift into science. So, noon, kung meron tayong tinatawag na pre-scientific revolution era, we have now what is called scientific revolution era. That's how the model shift. Okay? And it is where the scientific beliefs that have been widely embraced and accepted by the people were challenged and opposed. So, napaka-madamdamin po ng scientific revolution. Later on, I'll be discussing to you bakit siya madamdamin. No? So, there are different types of revolution. So, the first one is the Copernican Revolution. The second one, class, is the Darwinian Revolution. The third one is the Freudian Revolution. And the last one is the Information Revolution. So, sa Copernican Revolution, class, this is the revolution where there is now a shift from the geocentric model or the geocentric theory into the heliocentric theory. And take note, class, that there are different individuals that are reasons in the movement of this what is so-called Copernican Revolution. Of course, the very first individual there is Nicholas Copernicus. We have also Tycho Brahe, Johannes Kepler, Galileo Galilei, and Sir Isaac Newton. So later on, class, we will be discussing each of the contribution of these astronomers or scientists in the Copernican Revolution. So let's start first, class, with Nicholas Copernicus. Okay, tulad ng sabi ko, Copernicus, class, is the one who proposed the heliocentric theory. Okay, before kasi, class, we have the geocentric theory, right? Ang geocentric theory, pag sinabi natin geo means Earth. It is the Earth-centered universe. And the Earth-centered universe, class, is being proposed by Claudius Ptolemy. And not just that. That geocentric theory or the Earth-centered solar system or universe, class, is being accepted and being supported by the church as the old traditional view. Kaso lang, sabi ni Copernicus, di ba, nag-aaral siya. There's actually a certain publication. So, meron po siyang book, na pinablish. I think that's on the Revolution of the Heavenly Spheres. And in that book, it analyzes that the Earth is not really the center of the solar system. Rather, it is the Sun. So ngayon, ang ginawa niya, sinabi niya, it is not the Earth that is the center of the solar system. Rather, it is the Sun. Okay? So take note guys that this is the time already wherein nagkaroon tayo ng tinatawag nating radical reformation. It is because Copernicus challenged the views of the church, saying it is not the earth that is the center of the universe, rather it is the sun. And I just want also class to add up that Nicholas Copernicus also believed that knowledge did not just have to come from observation and experience, no? But it could be derived from inference, reasoning, and logical deductions. Okay? So, huwag niyong kalimutan class na si Nicholas Copernicus, ang sabi niya din, ang knowledge lang, it should not only become from observation and experience. Kailangan din natin, class, ng inference, kailangan natin ng reasoning, at kailangan natin ng logical deduction in order for us to prove something. No? So, because of that, class, he actually challenged the views of the Catholic Church. No? Then, after some time, class, ang nakakatawa dito, sinong sumunod? Johannes Kepler. So, si Johannes Kepler naman, class, he mathematically proved Copernicus' heliocentric theory. No? So, nakakatuwa. After nitong si Copernicus, sumunod naman si Kepler. At ang good thing, he supported the idea of Copernicus. No? Nasabi niya, it is really the sun. It is the center of the universe, and proposed that planets move in an elliptical orbits and do not always travel at the same speed around the sun. So that's how Johannes Kepler. No? Then after that class, after Johannes Kepler, sumunod naman si Galilei Galilei. And mind you class that Galilei Galilei class is one of the most influential scientists ever. Why? It is because of his usage class of the usage class of the what is so called telescope. No? So, ngayon, very revolutionary po si Galileo Galilei. It is because of his telescope. Pero mind you class that Galileo Galilei is not the one who really discovered the telescope. No? The first individual to discover about telescope class is Hans Lippershey. No? Pinattern lang po ni Galileo Galilei yung kanyang telescope, and take note guys that Galileo Galilei was the first one to make use of the telescope. No? And take note guys that Galileo's word challenged long-held church teachings, so he was brought before Inquisition and forced to recant his ideas. So, because of the telescope class of Galileo Galilei, he further supported, no, the idea of the sun-centered universe. At ito yung nakakasakit na part dyan. No? So, dahil sa ideas na yan, dahil sa ayaw pong ma-question, no, yung mga ideas ng church, don't you know na pinahuli po si Galileo Galilei, and he was sentenced with house arrest the whole of his life before his, up to the time of his death. Nakakasakit pa class, Nicholas Copernicus died, no? Namatay po siya na hindi po napapublish yung kanyang work. So, ibig sabihin, just after his death, doon lang po na-publish ang gawa ni Nicholas Copernicus. And because of those ideas class, that's why we have now here what we so-called heliocentric theory. No? So, I would like also class to emphasize some of the important things that you have also to know about Galileo Galilei. Bakit siya very revolutionary? So, Galileo Galilei class is considered also as the father of experimental science. Okay. So, bakit siya tinawag na father of experimental science? So, sabi niya, before we try to accept ideas, we have to test it first through experiment. Kaya nga, very well known siya, di ba, doon sa ating experiment on the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Wherein, if you drop a heavy material and if you drop a light material, both of the materials will fall at the ground at the same time. So, he actually tried to experiment it, no? So, credited po kay Galileo Galilei that in order for us to trust or believe a certain idea, we have to do experiments first. No? So, that's now class the Copernican Revolution. Okay? Okay, so we move on now class to Isaac Newton. So, Isaac Newton naman class created many scientific breakthroughs in physics. So, he discovered and explained the theory of gravity. So, he is also a very well-known class on the laws of motion. Tama? So, we have, what are the three laws of motion again? So, pag sinabi natin the three laws of motion, we have the law of inertia, we have the law of acceleration, and the law of reaction class. Okay? So, he also created class calculus to prove his theories. Okay, let's move on na class to Darwinian Revolution. I know kilalang-kilala nyo si Charles Darwin. So, Charles Darwin class is very well known in terms of his ideas of evolution. No? Kaya nga po, Darwinian Revolution talks about the theory of evolution. So, he is known class for his evolution by natural selection and was formulated in his book on the origin of species in 1859. So, take note class that the Darwinian Revolution talks about the theory of evolution, which describes how organisms change over time as a result of changes in heritable physical or behavioral traits. So, according to him, no, through time daw, nag-e-evolve tayo, no? So, parang ganito yan eh. Alam niyo ba doon sa may back part nyo sa likod? Di ba? Parang merong ending doon. No? So, hindi na natin nagagamit yung buntot, kaya daw, through time, nag-evolve tayo, no? In order for us to survive, no? So, the changes class, or the evolution of every organism is important class now in adapting to its environment. And it's very much important in survival. Okay? So, let's move on now class in we have also class to move into and look into class now the Darwinian Revolution. Okay? So, the Darwinian Revolution class talks about the natural selection and it is often described as the survival of the fittest. Wherein only the fittest is able class to reproduce or to survive. No? Okay, let's move on now class to Freudian Revolution. So, the Freudian Revolution naman class, he is actually the hallmark of psychoanalysis. And he described class that the brain can be segmented into compartments. So, Freudian Revolution may be viewed as the discovery of a way of locating in the mind objective entities which can be studied like physical things. So, si Sigmund Freud class laid the foundation of what we so-called psychoanalysis. And what is now class the idea of psychoanalysis? So we have now the id, the ego, and the super ego. So, what are now class the differences between the id, the ego, and the superego? Anong ibig sabihin class nun? So, when you talk all about id, the shortest definition is it's all about your instincts. No? Pag sinabi naman nating ego, that's all about reality. And pag sinabi nating superego, that's what we so-called your morality. No? So, So that's actually it, class. No? So let's move on now to, before we move on to the information revolution, I just want first, class, to emphasize with you also the contribution of Francis Bacon and Rene Descartes in the scientific revolution. Sino, class, ba si Francis Bacon? So Francis Bacon, class, is a scientist, class, that in order for us, class, to have what we so-called ideas, you have to conduct experiments. Okay? So he's a scientist that developed theories, class, explain their data and then test them through more experiment. So mind you, class, that Francis Bacon is considered as the father of the scientific method. So he was actually the one who proposed the scientific method. And at the same time, class, Francis Bacon also, class, is very well known in terms of what we so-called inductive reasoning, and he's also very well known in terms of the deductive reasoning. Anong pagkakaiba, class, ng inductive reasoning at saka ng deductive reasoning? Pag sinabi nating inductive reasoning, okay, it is actually from specific going down to general. So it is a reasoning wherein you start, class, with specific going into general. On the other way around naman, class, when we talk all about deductive reasoning naman, it starts with it actually starts, class, with the general, and then you gonna chunk it into the what we so-called specific. So parang ganito lang yan, class, eh. So si Francis Bacon, sabi nga, you could be able to prove ideas through inductive reasoning by way of scientific method. You start with the problem, going down to generalizations or conclusions. And at the same time, class, sa deductive reasoning naman, sometimes you do not have to go through experimentation. So all you have to do naman, class, is to go through what we so-called logical deductions. So that's what we so-called the contribution of Francis Bacon. And last but not the least, class, Francis Bacon, class, is also very well known in terms of the idea of what is so-called empiricism. So what is empiricism, class? It is a philosophical belief that knowledge is based on experience and observation through the five senses. So, pag sinabi nating empiricism, it is obtaining knowledge through experience and observations. Diba? Sabi nga nila, experience is the best teacher. And one of, in terms of the dynamism of science and technology that is part of our initial discussion before, no? That science is not the only source of technology. Okay? So, even experience can be a source of technology. Okay, class? So, that's our, class, the contribution of Francis Bacon in the intellectual revolution. Let's move on now, class, to Rene Descartes. So, si Rene Descartes naman, class, doubt everything until it can be proven with reason. So, ngayon naman, si Rene Descartes, unless you prove something, then I will accept it. Parang ganun yung gusto niyang mangyari. Okay? So, the natural world operates like a machine and follows basic physical laws. Okay? So, he's very well known on the statement, I think, therefore, I am. So take note, guys, that Rene Descartes is very well known. Okay, it is because of his ideas that we have to always look into being rational individual. No, pag sabi nating rationalism, it's all about our ability to think and to reason out. No? So, according to him, in order for you to accept something, you just have to reason it out. So, that's how the contribution of Rene Descartes. Okay, and then of course, last but not the least, we move on now to the information revolution. So, sa information revolution naman, class, no? We have, of course, Alan Turing's machine. So, pag sinabi natin si Alan Turing, very well known yan in terms of artificial intelligence. So, iran lang natin. Later on naman, i-discuss natin yan sa ibang topic. And then, the information revolution, class, take note, I started from the Sumerian pictographs, and then, of course, the invention of the Gutenberg printing press in 1455. And then we have now the use of typewriter and telegraph. So, mind you, class, that in terms of the information revolution, no, masyado na tayong techy ngayon, masyado ng high-tech. Isipin nyo lang before, from snail mails into, tingnan nyo, we have now podcast, teleconferencing, video conferencing, di ba? So, that's what is called information revolution, class. So, you could be able to reach, no, the world in just only using internet. You could be able to go to South Korea, no? You could be able to go to Japan, to Sweden, to Switzerland with just your phone. You just have to look into on how to do it, no? Kasi pwede mo makita yung Sweden di ba? So, mag-search ka lang about Sweden, meron na. So, that's what is called information revolution, class. And in terms of information revolution, we have now what is called fast internet connectivity. That are reasons, class, that makes the world smaller, ba? That connects, okay, the different countries in the world. Okay, so actually there are still other important people in terms of the in the scientific revolution, no? Nandiyan sila si Vesalius, Madami pa, and even other anong tawag dito, philosophers. But I just discussed with you itong mga important things that you have to know. So now, class, if you have some sort of question, just ask me, and then just try to look into, kung ano yung mga gusto niyong itanong. You can just tell it, you can just chat it to our GC, So with that, thank you so much for listening. Let's call it a day. Good morning and goodbye, everyone. So I would just like to end up my statement. Mag-aral ng mabuti para buhay ay bumuti. Bye-bye, class.